this video, I will try to answer some of the questions that many of you have asked. The most important which would be, what are you doing in a movie? Weren't you working in neuroscience, psychology, and medicine? Yes, I was in a movie, and I'm very thankful for this great opportunity that John Rasmussen gave me after many, many years in which I really didn't have anything to do with anything stage related.
20 years exactly, because Prima Amore came out in 2004, and it was the very first movie I starred in a very small role. I was this artist who was drawing the picture of the main character of the movie. And it was a movie by Matteo Garrone, which is fantastic because he was nominated this year for the Oscars. And to be fair, the parts I played in Prima Amore was extremely small, and most of it was cut out in the final version of the movie. But it's nevertheless a great experience to think back and see what came to be a fantastic adventure. It's like they say, everything happens for a reason, and it's phenomenal to think about all the psychological implication of what one goes through in self-discovery, in this sense, artistic sense.
But there is definitely an overlap between neuroscience, psychology, and visual and performing arts. And beside the immense gratitude I feel toward the crew and this fascinating adventure I was lucky enough to be part of, I just want to mention briefly what my experience was and why I feel that there is really no discrepancy between these two fields. Well, first of all, in both movies and psychology and neuroscience, we are dealing with human emotions. We are dealing with sensations and feelings and thoughts, behavior. So to some extent, not too different from what the standard CBT strategy is in the context of clinical psychology, for instance, or psychotherapy or psychiatry. And this was also one of the most intriguing movies that I had the honor to be part of. Starting from the script, I feel that the psychological analysis of all the characters was done in a way that promoted both intellectual depth as well as emotional strength. It's really hard to pinpoint what the main attitude or behavioral approach each character possesses, but you can definitely see how some archetypes, just to quote Jung, were reflected in the way each character interacted in that specific scene or in that specific line. So for instance, you have the captain, which is one of the most important role in the movie, that, as the name implies, is the leading role, the lead role in both good and not so good ways. And by that I mean there is this sense of awe, this sense of possession and almost messianic prophetic quality to the way he interacts, not just with the characters that we would define as quote unquote humans, but also with the feral, with these creatures that come out of the woods and represent the deepest recesses of our subconscious, one could say. And then you have Kelly, who is to some extent the strongest, most evil, darkest, to some extent perverted version of what the leading role is. So to some extent, Kelly is juxtaposed to the captain, but it's also juxtaposed to the kid, because the kid is this naive, pure-hearted being that for most of the initial part of the movie, definitely for half of the movie, acts as the follower, the one that doesn't really decides for himself what to do. He believes the captain, and this is also predicated upon his past. So just as in psychotherapeutic approaches, you find these layers upon layers upon layers of relevance of one's past, of one's childhood experiences, of one's family. This is reflected in the kid approach toward the captain to all the events that the movie presents. But then something happens, and I will not spoil, so to speak, the second part of the movie, or what actually the script is about. Really, would love to have your opinions after you watch the movie, which should come out hopefully in 2025. And you had this interaction between these archetypes of the evil forces versus the good forces. And there is definitely an element that one could define as spiritual, even religious, to some extent, even dogmatic in a profound sense of the term. And the other element that this movie really was able to resonate with my own background and my own overall attitude toward life is this defense of true feminism. True feminism, not in a politicized sense, not in a social justice sense, and definitely true feminism against the most recent ideologies that we are all witnesses of that would toss really what the main elements, the beautiful characters of women are, and they substitute them with a fully embedded notion of what a woman actually is. So the movie presents also this analysis without becoming too either preachy or puritanistic or judgmental or even didascalic in its nature. There is this element of twisted love, perverted care, possessed notion of private property, really, and abuse. There are very intense, some of the most intense scenes in the movie are actually part of what the character of Kelly presents to the group of the shepherds that walk along the movie. And in this sense, it's really quite fascinating to observe how, again, these subconscious layers interact with this social and personal, philosophical and spiritual dimension to the script. What else can we say? Well, the scenery, the movie was an American/Italian production and was entirely shot in Tuscany. And there's really nothing quite like it, which to some extent it's also a burden because Italy is just so beautiful, and the Tuscan Riviera and the hills and the monasteries and the archaeological sites of the ancient Tuscan are just so full of energy and history that any narrative constructed upon this beauty, it's really hard to convey because the environment itself is a narrative. So adding anything more to it seems to take away from the truth, the beauty, and the good of what you observe. And yet I feel that it was a perfect scenario because yet again, there is this connotation of the beauty that represents the good and the purity and the truth. And this purity, goodness, and truth is juxtaposed to this human evil that it's not really permeating every single character, as we already observed, but takes hold and plants the evil seeds in those characters that appear to be more internally split to some extent, but also take the evil and help it manifest itself outwardly in the scene of, I will not mention it because I want you to watch the movie, but in the scene of pure evil, let me put it this way. And then you have the feral women that are representation of yet another archetypes. You could identify that with the great Mother Earth, so to speak. And it's not a surprise that this movie, again, is shot in this Etruscan milieu and this matriarchal societal archetypical history that comes with it. But they're also good and evil not in the same way as, let's say, the captain perceived them to be. The captain wants to save them, but at the same time wants to possess them, wants to save them against their own will. And precisely because of that, they take revenge, or in Italian, vendetta, against the captain. The environment presents also a, how can we define this? A almost metaphysical component, an almost oniric, dream-like quality, to some extent even esoteric quality that is further corroborated by the, I'm biased here, by the fantastic job that the crew has done, from the director of photography to the audio to all the technicians, the crew, that it was, you know, it's really hard to convey in words how beautiful that is. And I hope I will be able to show you some more still and some videos from the movie. The title, The Women Are Coming, is in itself an oxymoron and a full description of what's happening for two main reasons. First of all, because it announces what is going to happen as, yet again, both salvation and revenge simultaneously toward the end of the movie, and also because it defines this character, this archetype of womanhood, transferred, however, into this chthonic, earth-like element that literally comes out of the woods. So again, there's a juxtaposition between civilization from the civitas, the Romana civitas, the city, and the woods, the forest, the foreigner, the one that's outside of the norm, outside of what we consider as us. So this us versus them component is also really fascinating. So yes, there is quite an overlap between neuroscience, psychology, and medicine on one side, and visual and performing arts, more specifically cinematic art, movies and film, on the other side. It's a great privilege to be part of this, and it also gave me the chance to take a step back from the more evidence-based, randomized clinical controlled trial part of my work, and simply observe and allow all these emotions and feelings and behavior and simple existence to take place in front of my very eyes. And for this, I'm extremely grateful to all members of the crew, to all the actors, and of course to the director, John Rasmussen, for this wonderful opportunity. Well, thank you very much. I hope I answered some of these questions, but the journey shall continue, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Actors everywhere.